pain. If we're in pain, it's going to be a lot harder to train regularly. And part of the reason that as first responders we are in pain is because of the gear that we wear. It does a lot of bad stuff to us, and if you don't realize what it is, then you don't know how to fix it or how to prevent it. Number one, duty belt, all right? So you can see standing here right now, I have a good lumbar curve, right? I have decent posture. My head could be back a little bit more, but you get the point. Good posture, everything looks relatively normal, right? As soon as I put this thing on, I go one of two ways. To correct for widening my hips, increasing the load, increasing the weight around my middle, I have to do one of two things. I either go into extension to try to help to balance things out, or I go into flexion and I slouch, right? So you go into overextension here or slouching there, right? That's gonna create issues with your lower lumbar as well as your sciatic nerve potentially. If we look here at our makeshift squad car, as I get into this thing, sit down, right? Good posture, but this isn't how we sit in a car, right? We're gonna be back flat, feet slightly elevated to work the pedals, and all of a sudden we go from good posture, feet flat on the floor, to slouch, right? And you can see how this puts me into drastic flexion, right? So this is gonna create issues not only with my hips and my glutes and my hamstrings and my posterior chain, and it's gonna shut it off just by nature of being in a flexed position, slouched, lean forward. All of this posterior chain is now shut off, as well as my lower abs, okay? How do we fix that? We'll go into that in just a second. Now, all of this is also exacerbated or made worse by the vest, right? Whether it's heavy armor or just the soft Kevlar, you can see that just adding this now takes me from an extension position where my shoulders are back and down to now I really want to hang forward, okay? And then if we get back into our makeshift squad car, we're here, lean back, and then I really hang heavy here, okay? So not only does this affect my cervical spine with my head coming forward, my thoracic spine being rounded, and my lumbar spine being all in flexion. So I basically spend all day seated like that, right? And if you consider typing into it, what does that look like? That looks horrible. Okay, so that's going to create major issues with your hips, your glutes, your lower back, your thoracic spine, and your cervical. It's going to send it all the way up the chain. So now we're talking about basically everything and and we have to undo that in order to not be in constant pain. Number one is how we set it up. If we take things like magazine pouches, which are typically here, right, either fashioned that way or sideways, it serves as a block for your hip. So if you get stuck here constantly, that you will not be able to get flexion in your hip, you will not be able to raise it to 90 degrees, and it will create issues over time. So moving this up to here is gonna do a lot to free up movement, making sure that a taser or radio or whatever you're carrying can be up on your torso. Now, that does come with a cost. Like, you will have to fight thoracic extension more often, but you get the idea. I would rather have to fight here than fight here. That's a big one, okay? All right, like I said, sciatic nerve pain and lower back flexion go hand in hand. So if you have a lacrosse ball, this is a great way to take care of some of those issues. If you have a lacrosse ball, you take this thing and put it right in your medial glute piriformis area, smash this out, and that does a ton of work to free up that sciatic nerve, to eliminate the pain, and to reactivate the glutes. All of which are super critical to undoing the bad time from sitting in a squad car. So, you take this, put it right in that spot, kick this leg over, and find some gnarly spots. Once you find a spot, squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax as much as you can. 20 seconds of relaxing into it, 5 seconds squeeze, and then repeat that for about a minute on both sides. That's number one. Number two, get something a little bit beefier, something a little bit higher than a lacrosse ball. And then we are working thoracic extension. So we're working up the chain. So we free up the hip, free up the sciatic nerve through that medial glute, and then we work extension. So we spend so much time in that gear, in flexion, that we have to work the other side. We have to work extension or it's going to create issues. From here, set this up, set this roller up, give yourself a big hug, and then right down thoracic spine. Extend, flex, and just spend time here opening things up. And we're talking about 2-3 minutes at a shot, just segment by segment, flex, extend. You can also do the same thing with the foam roller or any type of roller that you have. First one we can do here. Now this is not as aggressive, so you might need more. And we're doing the same thing. We're hunting for those gnarly spots. Squeeze, release. All right, and then you can do the same thing with thoracic extension, with the roller. Start here, extension, flexion, and just try to open up segment by segment. Get some pops, get some cracks. That's what we're looking for. So make sure that you're undoing the bad time from the gear that we're wearing.